The year is 1983, some 41 years ago. Two games, both will be released that year. Battlezone, we all know Battlezone. We played it in the arcade. It was a classic and we loved it. And Atari was bringing it home to the 2600. How would their non-vector version hold up? Could it emulate the arcade version? Atari had shown that they could do this, at least good enough to satisfy the gamers. Or would Activision, like they had done many, many times already, steal the day with their first-person tank game, Robot Tank? Let's look at both of these games and see which one is the best. Okay, scoring for both the arcade and the 2600 version of Battlezone are the same, but there is a difference between what is called the missile in the arcade version and the fighter in the 2600 version, and I like the arcade one better. We'll get more into that later. Now, just the flying saucers or the saucers, just like the arcade version, man, you got to go for them. You know, they don't shoot back, and they give you a lot. They're worth the most points. If you want your score to get on up there, you've got to go after them, even at the risk of getting shot at by the other tanks that are floating around. Now, in the arcade, I don't know how y'all play, but in the arcade, if somebody gets behind me a good bit, I just floor my tank and go straight ahead. And eventually, in the arcade version, a new enemy will spawn. But in this version, it's almost kind of like they do the around the world deal, where they come out the bottom of the screen and then they reappear kind of at the top. Now, the missile is called a fighter, and it actually shoots at you. The arcade, I don't remember doing that. It just came straight at you. And I remember once I figured out how to take those things on, my score went up big time. I could flirt with 100,000 points in the arcade version of Battlezone. That was, which I think is above average in that game. Once I figured out how to take on those missiles, but in the 2600 version, they're a lot harder. Here they come. I got that one. I got hit from behind, I think, by a tank. They fire at you. In the arcade version, you just, basically floor your tank in reverse, full reverse, both the joysticks, and it buys you an extra second or so. And right when it's just on top of you, that's when you blow it away. Pretty cool when you get killed, how the screen does that, like a broken television set. The action's real fast. I'd say faster than the arcade. Now, on this one, you don't have the obstacles, which kind of sucks. In the arcade, they do kind of offer a bit of strategy. See, it shoots at you. I don't know how to get away from that thing. The super tanks are really fast in the 2600 version also. I think they're faster than the arcade version. You might say that this is every bit as hard as the arcade in some ways. You can't outrun those super tanks, though. If any of y'all ever broke 100,000 on this game when you played it at the home version, let me know. I never could. And let me know how you take on those fighters, too. I couldn't really get a beat on how to keep them from destroying me so easy. But this is a good game. I mean, the graphics are cool. It looks good. It almost has an Activision type look to it, really, but the mountains and the multicolored skyline in the background. But it's a good game. As far as variations go, it's only got 3. They are it gets harder. 1 is beginner, 2 intermediate, and 3 is advanced. Basically, it probably just starts you later in the game, so that part's kind of weak. Once again, it seems like Atari kind of got away from doing the variations on several of their arcade ports after the first few, like, Space Invaders and Asteroids and Missile Command. All those had lots of variations. I think even Berserk had a good number of them, and it just seems like in a lot of their arcade games they just didn't do it. I think it kind of sucks. But this is a cool game. Oh, and the difficulty switches don't do anything on this game either. Hey everybody, if you're still here and you're enjoying the video, do me a quick favor, hit that like button. It really would help out the video, maybe get noticed by more people. And if you've been following me and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, but you like my content, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe. I really want to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers if I can. Thank y'all so much. Now let's move on to Robot Tank. Now, as far as bells and whistles go, Robot Tank by Activision has a lot more to offer than Battlezone does. And the games on the surface are pretty much the same. You know, you're in your tank and you're trying to destroy the enemy tanks. But there are some big differences in how the games play. Now, one of the biggest differences is in Battlezone, the enemies can attack you from any direction. You know, from behind, from the sides, you know, where you can't see them. On Robot Tank, the enemies will only attack you when they're in front of you, in your line of sight. So, you know, if you get them behind you, you don't have to anything to worry about. Now, they move pretty fast, so they can pass you. But a lot of people don't like that. They think that sucks. I kind of like the Battlezone deal better myself, but to me, this isn't like a game breaker or anything. I mean, it's still a fun game, and it has a lot more stuff as far as cool, neat features than Battlezone has. Now, I kind of like how the screen rolls. You know, like you can kind of get the impression your tank is actually rolling over the landscape, and you actually travel. You know, you travel through time. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. It's not Back to the Future. Time is tracked. As you can see right now, it's 1 day and 600 hours. It's done in military time. So that's kind of how the game goes. Kind of gives you a feeling of, you know, how long you've been playing. And there's no score like Battlezone. Whenever you destroy enemies, it's just tracked at the top of the screen. You see right there, I've got 2 destroyed enemies. And once you destroy 12 tanks, that pretty much is a squadron. Then you start on the second level, and it gets harder each time you do it. And since you are, you know, going through days, the sun actually goes up and comes down. It gets daylight and darkness, and you also have weather. You have fog, you have snow, and the snow does affect how your tank handles on the ground. Kind of cool when you get killed. It does the same thing as Battlezone, where the screen all goes crazy. And also on Robot Tank, your tank can get damaged. Kind of like Star Raiders. I don't know if you ever played that game, where your shields can get knocked out or your computer can get knocked out. Kind of the same thing. In this particular instance, my video was damaged, so the screen was kind of flickering in and out. Now, you can't repair your tank. When it gets damaged, the damage just stays until your tank is finally destroyed. But you got your video screen can get knocked out. The C is the computer. The T is the tracks. And R is your radar. You see I got snow alert. And you can really tell your tank slips and slides around more. Another thing on Robot Tank is that you can hit the enemy shots as they're coming toward you. And it's not like Battlezone, where, like I say, the enemies can only shoot you when they're in front of you. So if you slide to the left or right and their shell goes off the screen, it's not going to hit you. So a lot of people don't like that. I mean, again, I like the Battlezone version better on that, but it's still fun. And you can also guide your shots on Robot Tank. You know, so you can kind of swing them into the enemies after you fire them. It's a good game, and you just can't go wrong with Activision. Back in those days, you couldn't go wrong with them. They always had good stuff, and you can just tell they put a lot of work and effort into their games. And this is another classic title that they made. Let's see how hard these are to get and if they're expensive. Okay, over here at Atari Age, we can check the rarity of these games. Battlezone, as you can see, it's 2. Both these games actually are very common. Battlezone is the more common of the 2. And over on eBay, Let's look at completed listings. There's been quite a bit. There's a box copy. It went in an auction for less than $12 with shipping included. Yeah, you can get a copy of this game loose, just card only, for under $10, and that includes the shipping if you're lucky. There's one that's kind of beat up on the left here. It's less than $20, and that included free shipping. So Battlezone's easy to get if you want to pick up a copy if you're trying to build a collection. Now on Robot Tank, sometimes Activision games seem like they go for a little more. And they also have the 2 copies. A lot of times, in this case, they also have the blue one and the standard. The blue ones are more rare, but I like the way the standard labels look a lot better. But in any event, both of them aren't hard to find. And, of course, you have that awful bleed-through that you have with all of the Activision cartridges. There's nothing you can really do about it. But let's go back up the top here. Okay, there's one for $9 free shipping. There's one with the box and instructions. Cart $9.95 with $10 shipping from Canada. There's a blue one for $17.50 with the instructions. Here's a couple of them that are like they're shrink wrapped. One went for $60 free shipping. Another one $26 on an auction. Another one with the instructions for $14. Boy, that looks nice right there, doesn't it? Look at that. That just looks. I hate how that happens. Nothing you can do about it, like I said. But let's take a closer look at this. This looks really nice. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I've never heard of a Lionel department store. I've never heard of that one before, but I like when those tags are still on there. I think that's pretty neat. That is a nice box. Wouldn't mind having that. If you're trying to get a complete in-box collection, that would be a nice pickup. $31 seems like a pretty good deal, too. $40 with the shipping and everything. Not bad. Not bad at all. Which one of these games that I like better? Let's hit the drum roll. This was not an easy choice. In fact, it could have went either way. I think I took Battlezone just because I like how frantic the combat can be, because you can be shot from any direction and there's multiple enemies. I love both games. I like both of these games. I think they're both good games. Battlezone's a good port of the arcade, and Robot Tank is a good game in its own right with lots of cool features. So you can't go wrong with either one of these games. They're both awesome. Okay, if you're still here, I appreciate it. Did you like arcade games in the late 70s and early 80s? If you're my age, if you did, check out this video right here. It's my very first 5 favorite arcade games. Maybe we like some of the same stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.